Oh, yeah, you get dealers want to come and look, you got to share one every year.
All right, it is 4:31, and, call to order City Council Public Health and Safety on this fine Tuesday, April 28th. First thing on the agenda, let's go ahead and approve our last meeting minutes from April 14th.
I'll second.
All right, perfect. That was easy. Yes, it's so much more convenient with the AI. Will not lie about that. Next, an update.
Yep. So our April numbers will be reported here in a few days, so I'll have those sent out after the month expires. Last week was obviously, in terms of like bigger things happening, fairly self-explanatory with the firefighting efforts and everything that happened out there. We were involved from a standpoint of, you know, traffic control and stuff like that. I believe all agencies worked really well together, and no issues on my side. Stressful, but we got tackled. It seemed really quick, which is a great outcome. So right now, that's all I have.
Really?
That's it?
Cool.
Yeah. So
Wow.
go ahead.
That's crazy. Where is the traffic sign on wheels?
I believe it's up on Airport Road.
I know where it is.
now.
It's on Airport Road.
Airport Road.
Okay.
Did you run past it?
My kids. Okay, so wait, I don't want to chit chat. I got too much on my mind. So what's the story with moving it around? I'm sort of tired of looking for it. I mean, is it going to be rotated
Yes, it will.
all the time?
Yes, so it does need to be brought back to the station and put on a charge. If there's different spots that people would like to see that, I'd love to hear it. We'll bring it back to the station. It holds a pretty good charge for a few days.
One time, I'm going back in my way back machine, and I remember one time seeing Lonnie hitching it up down here. Is that Lonnie's job to hitch it up and bring it back to City Hall?
No, I don't, not during my time.
It was a woman. It was either Danae or Lonnie.
I don't
I
recall.
just thought that's weird.
It is. During my time as chief, I could confidently say that I've never had Lonnie or Janae move that.
Okay, well,
I would like to modify it. If there's ideas, please send those to me and I will relay them
Yep,
on so that
yep.
we don't have council directing staff.
So is there an allocated time that you leave it, like, for instance, right now it's up at Airport Hill, is it just until the battery dies and then we move it, or?
It could be. It could be till it dies and needs to be recharged. It could be till one of my patrol officers or somebody from my sergeant staff finds a different area to where they're like, you know, there's a lot of cars moving down here and it's, you know, congested. People are moving. It seems a little fast. Maybe we can move it down here.
And
it's more so at this point in time right now. It's at the police department's leisure where it goes. But
All right, I'm just wondering if like public, you know, someone says, hey, calls in, like, can we get one down here? Like, we've got people flying down our road,
Yeah.
or if that's an option, or if it's,
Sure.
like, there's a
Sure.
procedure that has to be followed in order for it to be placed someplace.
I think the procedure stuff is more mainly, probably related with, that's what we've been talking about for the last couple of meetings, is number 5, for like traffic studies and
Right.
stuff like that. But for this mobile radar trailer, it's simple enough to, if we're observing an area, if law enforcement's observing an area to where there's gonna be some traffic issues or a lot of speed going on, it's a good deterrent. We can move it down.
And then how long does it usually take, like, for it to come in, charge?
To expire.
Yeah.
I believe the battery life is several days, 3-4 days, and then charging, I would probably hook it up for maybe 1 or 2 shifts. So 20 hours,
Okay.
and then put it back out.
Give me hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Calendar.
That's the ballpark. Go ahead.
I have another question. I've been talking to the Boys and Girls Club people about making that block. I'll talk about later
Yeah.
in safe zones, but
Mm-hmm.
but this pertains to you. I went by and asked them today, and they couldn't come to the meeting because 4:30 is big time for them.
Sure.
I said, what do you need now?
Mhm.
She said, we love some of the signs that they have on Main Street. And I said, I used to see those signs. Why can't those signs be used at the Boys and Girls Club?
Which signs are we talking about?
And
The
they
ones that are
can-
heavy, not the little man with the flag. that
Oh,
are-
you're talking about the ones that flex and the ones
Yeah,
with the
ones on
rubber
Broadway.
base?
Yeah,
I don't think we put them out yet, because they're not on Broadway yet either.
Yeah,
So
it's about a
we do
Memorial
put them
Day.
out, we do put them out over there at the same time.
Okay,
And that's the Public Works Director under my direction who does that.
well, that's what they really like right now, to make that place safer. We can't, I got some other ideas we'll talk about later, but they said signage. So, thank you.
Understood.
Can I address?
Yes.
So when they put those on the corners,
Mhm.
it would be ideal if they didn't park their vehicles on the side of the street at those corners, because that sign makes it very narrow.
Mhm.
For your trucks.
With even a full-size pickup, it becomes very challenging to maneuver between the signs and the parked vehicles right to the corner.
Well, that will be difficult unless those curbs are painted yellow, bright yellow at some point.
It's just,
Yeah,
because, you know, they kept talking about the little guy would get run over when he was in the middle of the street,
right,
because people can't maneuver around him, and so it's easier to run over him than moving.
right. Well, that's maybe another sign, but I agree but probably needs some more direction.
Are we talking about like the little plastic guy with the flag?
Yeah.
I would personally shy away from those.
No,
They-
they have one, they showed it to me.
Yep, yep.
It's as light as my glasses, it'll,
That, and, I mean, in terms of like a city, like a road crew or police department, like a purchase on the city, those get stolen a lot. Yeah.
what are you
about
gonna
the
do?
ones-
What are you gonna do?
The ones on the ones that, I know you're talking about the ones like, are at every intersection
Yeah.
during the summer. Like,
Yeah.
when does Public Works put those up? Is it like a
We kind of make
Summer.
that call jointly based on what the
weather?
what the weather is, so they definitely go out before Labor Day, and it generally kind of depends on, we don't want them out there when snowplows are gonna be coming through. And we can generally get one more good snow just by jumping the gun and putting them out already, we'll get one good snow, but.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you, if you will consider the Boys and Girls Club area, and I'll go by and talk to them again about parking.
Here, let's go ahead and jump in and get this rural fire district meeting.
Yep,
Madam
update?
Chair?
Yep.
Before you do that, I would just like to add publicly, a thank you to our chief of police for attending these meetings. It's not really a requirement nor on their duties, but I think it has been very, very helpful for transparency and public acceptance of what our police department is doing. So I appreciate you making the time out of your schedule to come to these and to get out the reports after the month has expired. As long as we get it by the second Tuesday, we're good. But,
Happy to
yeah,
do it.
I just want to publicly recognize and thank the chief's efforts for that. I think it goes a long way with helping stay on the right side of the public. So thank you.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate it. All right. Rural fire district meeting.
Well, Tom's here.
Oh, I was like-
Yeah, thankfully Tom's here. But, yes, I'm the city council liaison or
Mhm.
representative with the Red Lodge Rural Fire District. So I do attend those meetings once a month, and I am learning a whole lot. And so thank you for your patience. Tom schools me every day on the background of it all to try to catch me up. But, yes, I do want to put out the full disclosure that based on previous experience with another group, any questions about Red Lodge Rural Fire District, details, occurrences, operations, I will direct that to Kim or Tom. I won't be able to answer, I won't be able to speak on their behalf, so I just want to put that out there. Any questions? You're welcome to come through me, and I'll get you connected to the right resources, but I'll definitely direct you to the right resources. So, we meet the middle of the month. They send a report, Kim Bernard sends a report out prior to that meeting, and I do share it with the public health and safety. And then now we're back to doing a summary on it of the meeting, and then I put it through Tom and to Kim first, so when he's not here or any representative from the fire district isn't here, then I can just share that with you guys, the public health and safety, and then an update at the city council just to kind of keep that communication open. But if you want to recap on the meeting.
Yeah, I can quickly, and one of the things that we'll do is we can work on writing that summary
Yes,
out, just
thank
so
you.
it's better, and I think,
More people.
one of the things as part of the agreement that the Rural Fire District has with the city is that we have an oversight committee, and it has, a representative from now the county ambulance, board, the city, and then the Rural Fire District. And so, it's really, you know, kind of like a committee to provide oversight to the operations of the district and how, you know, how we operate. Ultimately, you know, our fire district board makes the decisions and you know, I think you know, kind of couple things, just points that we made is that we're coming out of our training season right now, so you know, our biggest issue is maintaining our volunteer workforce, and so we continue to work on that. We just finished, we're in the process of finishing our Fire Recruit Academy, and we have just finished our EMT class, and we are actually seeing good numbers in all divisions, so fire, EMS, and search and rescue. Search and rescue has 46 members, I think, right now, which is a lot. Totally in our membership, we're up above 120 members, which actually is becoming a little bit unmanageable, and so we're going to try to work to focus that down and narrow that a little bit while increasing the, you know, the participation rates of the folks that we have. And so that's going to be our focus over the next few months. I think probably the biggest piece is, I think you know, and we talked about it, but the biggest news piece was that Amy Highfield, who is our volunteer coordinator, that position was funded on a grant. And so that grant ended at the grant performance period ended in December. The funding for it ran out in June, and we don't have the funds to continue with that. So we are significantly reduced our staffing over the last 2 years. When John Trapp left, we did not fill his position, and now with Amy leaving, Tim Ryan's position morphed into a couple of people, and so we have seen a significant reduction in the staff levels that we have, which is concerning over the long term. I think we're going to work to try to basically disperse those duties and figure out how to manage that, but not having a volunteer coordinator position could have significant impacts for us long term as we move forward. So calls are up. I think we are up 100 calls over last year right now for a year to date, around 700 calls. So it's a significant increase in the number of calls that we're doing. And they're really across the board, both fire and EMS. Search and rescue is less impactful, even when it's up by a big percentage. The number of calls we do for search and rescue isn't really high. So, and we consolidate calls too. It's just important to know. So, like, you know, so for example, the fire that we have, the East Side Fire, where we have fire, EMS, search and rescue all working, that's one call. Like that's not multiple calls or something like that. It's one call for service. So, you know, we have a car accident, we have fire and EMS, that's just one call for service, even though we might have a lot of resources at that. And then budget-wise, you know, our budget's fairly complicated because we essentially operate as an enterprise fund, as you guys would be familiar with. And so we have different income sources and different expense sources, and it's, but our budget is, we're on track right now. We're on track for our budget, which is good. Is there anything else in there that I missed?
I just like that piece about the billing for services.
Yeah, so when we respond to an EMS call, we bill for those services. So our EMS is funded through a couple of factors, but one is tax and the other is call for service. So when we go on a call, we charge the patient. But we see varying rates of return on those charges. So if you go to somebody who has, I'll use maybe not the best example, but is a city employee who has great insurance, right? You may get reimbursed the entire amount of the bill. But if you respond to somebody who is uninsured, you may not receive anything. If the person's on Medicaid, you might receive 10% of the bill. And so that mix of who your patients are really affects your funding levels significantly.
If you, and this is what I've just been told through various EMS personnel is that if you make the call and then they refuse the services,
We don't charge.
you don't charge.
We do not charge if they don't. We do not, it's called a treat and release, service that some EMS agencies are doing now. We do not charge treat and release fees.
Okay.
So, and then if you don't treat at all, then there's never a fee for that, so.
But it's just as much work.
Yes,
Personnel-wise.
it can be just as much work
Yeah.
sometimes, right? Like, I mean, you get a call at 2 in the morning to somebody and you go to their house. And we're doing a bit more of, folks who fall down and, who are older, fall down, need help getting up, but don't necessarily need to be transported. But we also see a lot of times where we'll get a call for somebody who's fallen down and needs help up, and we get there and they're like, need to go to a hospital like right away.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably 25% of the calls that we get for someone is just, we call lift assist, someone who just, somebody's, 85, fell out of bed, can't get up, needs help getting back in bed. You get there and you're like, ooh, this person's really sick. So sometimes the reason for the fall, they're not be thinking of it, they don't realize how sick they are, and you get there and you're like, that person's sick.
Why did you?
Yeah. So, but definitely, I think we're seeing a lot more elderly people living in their homes that's driving call volume in the EMS world.
Yeah. Well,
And there's the new program, the national, whatever, community care that Bruce.
Yeah, so we have a community care program it's not actually a new program, we've had that program for a while. There is significant funding potentially coming for that, we'll see if it actually materializes over the next couple of years. But the idea that we provide services to folks in their homes to help them to live more freely in their homes. And so it's different than home health, like a step below home health. And it's, like we might, have conversations with them about their ability to be in their house. And then we do some, like non-emergency ambulance transport. Sometimes they need transport, but this isn't an emergency ambulance transport. So we call that community care. We do that.
That's Sarah and Ruth.
Ruth.
Is that a grant as well?
It used to be a grant. It is not grant funded anymore.
Okay.
So that grant expires.
That's stable.
But you hope it's going
We
to come
just hope
again.
there's funding in the future. Yeah, there's, under the big beautiful bill, there was support for rural healthcare. So that support came into the state, and so they're working on how that's going to be allocated.
Okay.
But we don't know the answer to that question yet. We're hopeful that community care will be part of that.
Where you'll give,
Tom,
go ahead, Steve.
What about another grant for Amy Highfield's position, for example, in this?
We applied for that last year, and we did not get it, and that grant is held in the Fire Administration, but really it's Department of Homeland Security. And so, needless to say, there is no movement in any Department of Homeland Security grants right now.
Okay. Interesting.
Thank you.
So yes, we will apply for that grant again, when the grant opens up. We'll just keep applying. And we have luck. So we had that grant back in 2010-ish, 2009, had it for 4 years, lost it for like 6, and then got it again in 2000. So
It's a 4, 5, 6 year.
the 4-year grant,
4
4-year grant for volunteer coordination.
Wow.
I can't believe you haven't already thought about things I'm thinking about. Aren't there other uses for, grants? Besides the Homeland Security?
I would agree that probably I would be surprised if there's a grant out there that we don't know about. But there could be. I don't want to propose that we can find every single grant and know what they are, but there's lots of little grants that we don't go after just because their return on investment is low. But there's some grants that we go after that's return on investment is high. So we try to balance that. But ultimately, I think the piece to say here is that I think the purpose of that grant really, like a lot of staffing grants, whether it's for fire or law enforcement, is to show the community the value of the position so that then the community will fund it. I think that we did see that. And for us, it's a leverage piece, right? Like, if we can recruit and retain volunteers, volunteers are cheap, they're not free. We still have to, there's lots of expenses involved in maintaining a volunteer workforce. But what we look to do is to leverage the funding that we get in through the volunteer workforce. So you get a 5-to-1, 6-to-1, 10-to-1 return on that investment. So if you can hire a volunteer coordinator who then increases your volunteer staffing by 10 volunteers, now you have just gotten a 10-to-1 return on your investment. And so, again, there's still some cost involved. We have to train these people, we have to equip these people, we have to, continue to motivate them. We have to have, one of the things, and this goes into some of the other conversations we'll have, is that, when I first became chief, I would say this kind of jokingly, but it's actually factual, is that we did not go on a call and not have a piece of equipment breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think about yourself in a volunteer world where you signed up to help people, and you show up at the fire station, you get in a piece of equipment, and that piece of equipment doesn't work, what's your motivation to show up again?
Discouraging.
It is. And so, what we saw in the 2000s is we put a big effort into trying to improve our equipment because our equipment was old. And now where we are again is our equipment is getting old again. And so, you run this roller coaster ride where, if you aren't able to maintain capital, right, then, and it's very expensive to operate at the level that we operate with a career fire department.
I assume there's some liability to things breaking down too, is that correct?
No.
You're on an emergency call and something breaks down, there's not a liability?
There's a moral liability.
Okay.
But I would say there's not much of it, that is the, that's the role of government, right? Is to provide the services at a level that you feel is appropriate. And so, while I would love to tell you, you need to buy us new fire trucks because it's going to make you liable for not providing fire protection, I don't think that's actually true. So I'm not going to do it. I think now, is there liability to the community?
I was thinking about little things, like the things you put on people's fingers to pulsometers.
You want that to work, but we have other ways to, I think that's true. You want things to work. I think, again, I think there's when I say a moral liability, I'm not sure that's actually a term, but, if we don't provide the right service and someone doesn't get the treatment they should get, then, that's not good. If we don't have adequate fire protection and we have a fire downtown and we lose half a block or a block of our downtown, there's a cost to the community for that, right? And so, and having great fire protection doesn't guarantee you're going to save everything, but, you work hard to do it, and we saw that on this fire that we had last week, is that, having systems in place that where we know how to fight fire makes a big difference. Yeah. Makes a huge difference. And, I'm very proud of the work that we did. And it was, because of what we have here, which is phenomenal, and what we were able to bring in.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I was, especially for it being in April, the personnel and everybody that you were able to rendezvous was pretty nice. Although, like we keep saying, like, if we had to take a forest fire, I think I'll take an April fire versus an August fire. If it'll burn like that in April, it's going to burn like in August. And, if a fire like that will burn like that will start almost anywhere and from a variety of causes. So while it's easy to focus on the cause, the challenge is that the way that was burning, almost anything could have started.
But I heard you on television say this is burning like an August fire.
It was, yeah.
So it's, but it's the same.
Yes, but that makes you worry, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not,
That makes you
I'm not
worry.
downplaying it, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah.
Well, yeah, no, that's why I was like, knowing that within 96 hours, that there was polar temps and snow on the horizon, it was kind of like, I know that it wasn't just gonna run for months.
It helped, yeah, yeah.
And Chief, if you won't mind during public comments, I'm gonna ask you for a short, like a 3-minute summary just for the public, kind of summarize where we are. I know it's a challenge, but I have
You can do it.
great confidence in you. Just to kind of do your best to give us a summary and kind of pre-guess what the public questions will be, and you've got an idea from talking to council. So that'll be very early on in the meeting, so thanks for coming.
You got it, you got it. Nice. All
Well,
right.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back down to the safe zone for the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
You guys good with me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, go practice 3 minutes.
Safe zone for Boys and Girls Club. Well, actually, I think we're making a little bit of progress because, we've been working on this for 1 year and 3 months. I've been in this committee for 1 year and 3 months, and all we do is talk, and I get tired of that. So, I've come to the conclusion we can't close that street because of Commerce, and I love Commerce. So my idea was to make that block, that area, unique, different, colorful, and safe. It's incredibly unique to have entities totally dedicated to kids or recreation. Boys Club, daycare, skate park, and the tennis courts. And I think it's a great opportunity to make this a different area. So I talked to the gals at Boys and Girls Club. They're all in. We just got to come up with a plan. I think we also need railings on at least the west side of the street because kids are just randomly running into the street. If their skateboard flies out from under them, it'll go into the street, but they can't just follow it into the street. They have to see if there's a railing. And the Boys and Girls Club girls decided, they...
Is there fencing?
No, like railings. Or
Well, I'm kind of wondering if railing.
Blockade
As-
along the street.
Right, like-
No, on the park,
Yeah,
going
I know
south,
what you're
north and
saying.
south.
Right.
But that way the kids don't run into the street directly. They have to stop and think and look both ways. And that's just one thing that came to my mind like today. But, we gotta get a committee or something together to talk about things.
We
and-
talked about this, quite a bit when I was on here, my first term
Oh,
in health and safety.
cool.
And we discussed safe routes, and then when you sent the Playing Out website, and I went through that, and we had discussed it, where you actually create, basically, in my mind, it was like chalk art on the street to cause people to slow down and realize that, hey, this is
It might need to be permanent or
Yeah,
to
right.
say, hey,
Kids are here.
you're driving into a different area.
mm-hmm.
And the gals at Boys and Girls Club, almost, they want some stop signs that have the lights around them blinking. Anything to get their attention
That's right.
and make the area different, so people will go slower or change their route and go a different way.
And I'm curious, what do we know, with all your studies and everything, it's mostly locals that are using that route, correct? Just from my understanding, I know I
Just
avoid it
from-
like the plague.
Just from
because-
a patrol standpoint, and what I see out there, I would agree with that, yeah.
Mhm.
There was the discussion previously in previous meetings about, trucking companies using that as a route to make deliveries, which you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah,
And
I
I have
agree.
no issue with that. But from a patrol standpoint, where I see, when I am in the area, I guess, hanging out, it's not like a route where somebody from, I guess, out of town would take
Mhm.
often.
No.
Right?
Right.
So, just like we talked about before with signage and everything like that, if council discusses it and it comes down from the top, I'm more than happy to help any way I can. I understand, it's, especially, kids running out into the street and stuff like that, it is a major cause for concern. We gotta protect our little ones. So, I'm on board 100%, And if I can help in any way, like I said, if it comes from the top and I'm good to go, absolutely, no issues on my side.
Go ahead.
I think that from a standpoint of, it is a local route.
Mhm.
Part of it is driven, it's, the busiest time for kids is summer.
Correct.
It's also probably the busiest time for that to be used as a local route for a shortcut mainly from the West Bench development to the grocery store, the hardware store, the post office, because they're avoiding Main Street because you can't go a block without getting stopped by pedestrians, right? So they're looking at it as a more convenient route. So it makes it, and you're not going to change that,
Right.
but you may be able to improve the behavior because it is unique. It's a unique path within the city that, you know, we talk about repeatability and those types of things. It's kind of, besides Oaks Avenue, Oaks to Hauser,
Right.
you know, because that is Hauser, then it changes to Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
At the grocery store, that turns into Villard. You know,
Yep.
so it's very confusing in that.
And then back into Hauser.
And
It
then
even
back to
confuses
Hauser.
me sometimes.
But
Landmarks, I need landmarks.
it's unique, it's unique in the community.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think it needs a unique approach, which would be flashing, you know, the speed signs coming into the community for those that aren't familiar with the community.
Sure.
The flashing lights.
Yeah.
That, I'm sure has improved
Yes,
some of that.
yes.
So for the locals, they need a reminder that they're in a park zone, in a kids zone. So if the city could make an investment into flashing signs for that particular street and area, because it is unique.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be repeatable for the fact that it is unique, right?
Correct.
So flashing 15-mile-an-hour zones, flashing stop signs would all bring attention to the locals
Mm-hmm.
and delivery trucks of
Do
what's
we-
going on there.
does the city
I think
have-
it would be,
Like, sorry to interrupt, but like I was
Yeah.
thinking you know, along those lines, do we have the,
Mobile speed trailer.
thank you, or mobile speed bump?
Oh, that's I would say that's a Mike Maples question. I don't know.
Because I'm just thinking in other places, just where like, for instance, like construction is taking place and they need people to slow down. One of the ways to do that, besides the flashing signs that people see but don't register a lot of the time, were the speed bumps. And they,
Just get your attention.
yeah, those most definitely do, whether they like wanted to or not.
The reflective signs and everything that you're talking about, whether it's the red colored flashing stop signs like Ann brought up,
Mm-hmm.
I do like that idea. One thing, just to go back to the speed trailer, yes, it will be moved around more frequently. One thing to keep in mind is that piece of equipment was ordered when did Chief Pringle retire? Do you remember
Oh,
what year
gosh.
that was?
About 10 years ago.
That was a whole second ago.
No, it was more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No, it was, he
Wells,
retired, well, yeah.
Wells was after Pringle, correct?
Hitler was in the,
no.
There was somebody between there too, actually.
yeah, I believe me, I.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to
So
think.
anywho, this is,
yeah.
so Chief Pringle was the chief that hired me. And I think like 2 or 3 years before he retired and moved back, to Texas, he had ordered that speed trailer. So that thing is,
Oh.
it is old. I mean, I want people to understand that. It's old, it's clunky, it is outdated. So like signage,
There surely there's a solar charger on these
so
signs.
Mr. Tom Lyman was actually gracious enough to donate several, like gigantic batteries to run that thing off of.
Mhm.
So we do have the battery life, but it's just like any other battery, it needs to be recharged and it takes a while because they are pretty hefty. But what I was touching on is just like what Rod said with like the reflective or flashing signs, a great option. Speed trailer's a great option, but keep in mind, the speed trailer is very old and it is, I don't want to say difficult to move around, but it's just,
The life of it.
well, it can be moved around, but
The technology's just,
Yeah, every time I order, if it's a new piece of law enforcement equipment, I have a salesman calling me the following year for the updated version of it. Well,
It's like a cell phone,
Well, find out what a new one costs, Greg.
yeah,
Let us know next time.
or new to us.
new to us, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Another
Yeah.
issue with that area, the 15-mile an hour zone starts at.
So that is-
It's a long distance of 15, if people don't like driving.
Yeah, so that is,
15 miles an hour.
That
So,
is-
I mean, you need 3 or 4 of those flashing lights, depending on where you turn.
so that is, like, by word of mouth, that is what I try to relay to a lot of people. And I've discussed in these meetings before, is that it should be common knowledge that all parks, school areas, stuff like that, anywhere where children play, you can guarantee that that is a 15-mile-per-hour zone.
At all times, 24 hours.
Correct. Yep, yep.
No, like
Middle
even
night,
on the
o'clock in the morning,
weekends.
doesn't matter. And it is posted, and it is kind of it is a hot zone. I mean, like we've talked about it before, especially around, Lions Park. You know, I'm there on my days off with my kids, and I do see people driving fast. But it just, word of mouth doesn't necessarily spread as quick as I'd like it to, but just so the public is aware, I'll say it in the public meeting that any school or park area where children are playing is 15 miles per hour.
In the idea that 15 is much slower than 25, and the reason that people are using Hauser and, is because they don't want to spend the time on Broadway. So there's a tendency, well, I can save time by going here,
For sure.
but not if I slow down to 15.
But if you're traveling in downtown Red Lodge and you're aiming to save time, you've seriously miscalculated your time management.
It's more the frequent stops than
It's,
the speed that you're moving
yeah,
forward.
it's frequent stops, but it's not Billings, Montana, where you're going from the Heights all the way to like far West End or something like that. I mean,
You
when
5
you're-
minutes at the longest, right?
When you're in Red Lodge and you have 4 wheels underneath you, time is on your side. You don't have to rush, so just throw that out there.
Go ahead, Hope.
So, and I know we had talked with, Public Works and probably the chief here about speed bumps on the north part of Housen.
Right.
But, I know they were worried about snow plows and that type of thing, but those movable ones, they
Yeah.
got them up at Remington Ranch that they put out in the summertime now on the.
Yeah, and that's what, so I,
Get them.
that's what I know they're available, and like I said, like, I see the lights, it registers, I slow down, but man, those speed bumps,
Yeah.
that'll jolt you enough to be like, oh,
They'll
yeah, I
go
was
from
way
fast
too
once, and then
It takes one time,
Yeah,
one time.
and you avoid that area.
To get your attention.
Yes, yeah, and I'm sure I've taken those, and that's probably where I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, slow down.
And they're
Worth looking into.
That's what I was thinking too, and I think we had talked about it back when I was,
Back in the old days.
back when I was on health and safety the first time.
Not only are the park areas 15 miles per hour, but there's other streets too that are 15 miles per hour that don't have parks or school on it. So obviously keep that in mind as well. Word Avenue North, for example.
Which one?
Word Avenue North, it's a very, it hooks up,
It's almost a one-way.
Just because it's so narrow.
Ah, okay,
hooks up
okay.
with Third Street and it runs all the way down, like past the tennis courts and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, noted, oh, okay, oh, yeah, that one, yeah, that one, you can't go, I would've wanted to try to go fast on that one, there's some areas that are, all
It's
right.
tight.
If we did request a sign over Rodeo Weekend
Well,
on
why don't
Third
we
Avenue
request,
North, that'd be great.
Why do we, I'm ashamed to say this, but I don't think there's a children's playing sign on that block.
On which one, Word, or are we talking about?
We're going back over here to the park,
park.
park area, I mean, Villard,
Girls.
whatever it's called, Villard.
I would have to go look and
I-
confirm that.
I don't think there
Yeah, I
is
don't think
one.
there
Child
is.
playing.
That's ridiculous. Why don't we, make a motion to order some stuff? And, Billings Construction has those kind of signs, and they're not expensive. And then look into the signage with the flashing lights and speed bumps.
And we might already have it, right?
Let's just spend, we
Yeah,
have money.
we'll ask Mike to see
What we have
what's in the storage.
warehouse, whatever.
Well, and we can buy them if we don't have them there too. So I specifically got the 15-mile-an-hour signs, preferably solar, and also the mobile temporary
Speed bump.
speed bumps.
And then the child playing sign, we're not sure if those
A
are.
couple of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one on the airport hill.
And by the way, I do have a separate note to talk to him about the timing on the streets that the main pedestrian streets that we put out on Broadway, and possibly about getting those out earlier over there, knowing that if it snows, we've got 2 to move.
I
not
think
20.
mid-May would be a safe time to get them out,
Yeah,
2
Mayor.
weeks.
Yeah, and that's generally when we do it.
Yeah.
And Mayor, if I can, there's the hotspot of downtown pertaining to Broadway Avenue, the hotspot for pedestrian traffic.
The range. Yeah.
Yeah, it was from, I would say from, maybe Fifth, you can even go a little south, further, Sixth, Seventh, all the way to 14th. So, and I believe at that, when those were, I was not an administrator at the time, this was back in like 2014, 2015, when they were ordered, was ordered to cover most of Broadway, I think, so there could potentially be some.
We have that, so I've got it starting somewhere between 5th and 8th, going to 14th, so we'll probably start at 14 and then work our way north.
Yeah, that's where most of your
And
traffic.
then the other thing we do, although, is we tend to put them not back from the crosswalks, we tend to move them back 15 or 20 feet for the trucks and vehicles turning on. Last year, they ended up getting put a whole lot closer to the crosswalks, but they ended up not getting knocked over. And so in speaking, in fact, I think you were in those conversations, I know the chief of police was in those conversations, because in his role, and he was kind of like, they're not getting knocked over, leave them. So it may be a little bit short, but we try to keep them so the trucks can turn
Sure.
without not taking them out.
Yeah, they will get clipped, but that's what they're built for.
They're-
I mean,
are
we
they-
obviously, you don't want to ding your vehicle up, but,
Also,
they are spring.
slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we're making some progress. We got some things, we're looking into things and we're gonna order some things. Is that correct? Signage,
Check into what's in storage and,
and then the humps, speed humps, bumps, and they call them humps in Florida. And, the flashing stop line.
Just so I'm on the same sheet, making sure I'm on the same sheet of music, we're just specifically pertaining to Villard Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Villard.
when are
Villard,
you?
Depends on when you moved here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Millard,
Millard.
Millard.
I go with Howard, the guy whose name it is said it.
Millard.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to point out, we have 5 minutes left.
We didn't live in
Oh,
town.
yeah.
thank-
We didn't live in town, so we don't.
okay, well, I'm done. I think I've got my point across. I think we're all kind of in agreement.
No,
that this
I agree.
can help.
Villard.
Okay, that's the new debate, the Lord. All right.
I'm gonna look that up. It was a train baron, so that'll be easy to find out.
There we go. Yeah, let's go ahead and, with the last 5 minutes, give public comments, if we have any.
I have one quick one.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
maybe because I'm not very aware of things. How long have
Villard.
we had- How long have we had a police truck? A pickup truck?
Oh, we have 3.
Yeah, the pickup.
For, the one on the street now is, we've had for approximately 3 years.
How am I seeing it all of a sudden?
Was it somewhere, utilized somewhere else? Was
Guilty
it-
conscious?
No, I feel like it's in rotation.
I don't know,
okay,
why
so
do we
it's-
have police trucks?
Wintertime, getting around easier, county assists, going
Moving
backwards.
signs.
Moving mobile speed trailers. So I'll throw this out there too. The truck that you're seeing it stands out a lot more than our regular patrol vehicles. One thing that I did was that I changed the Red Lodge Police Department color scheme on our vehicles to fit a more traditional black and white police car.
Yeah, they're very old. I like them.
They're very old school. You will see light bars coming back onto our vehicles so the police cars are more recognizable. Just so everybody understands, we're not trying to hide, we're not. The other thing too is, the decal schemes that we had, in my opinion, don't fit the traditional way a police car should look. Does that make sense?
They should be more noticeable.
They should be more noticeable, and they shouldn't look like race cars.
Well,
There's,
I was gonna say, I was just gonna add another comment that, of a follow-up conversation we had, to make sure that even though you're seeing trucks, the trucks do have the ability to transport non-willing participants,
Corridor.
in the backseat. So that was another question that kind of come up.
It's not enough in bed.
Where we give, we didn't slap them in the bed, lock the tailgate, no. So I just want to add
I
that.
dare you to jump out.
Because I've seen that question, that they are, I did have a phone conversation, that, so they are fully capable of moving, transporting.
The other thing too is the box storage of these pickups come equipped with, I believe the company is called Rugged. It's a pull-out storage compartment in the box of the truck.
the rugged.
That way, there's more room for the officer equipment and stuff.
Oh, good.
And carry more stuff.
Carry more stuff.
And then along with the sign thing, Mayor, you talked a couple meetings ago about the flashing sign that's going to go on the north end of town, like we have on the south end of town.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's on their to-do list. It was not put up during the winter because we didn't want it to be taken out by the snow plows. So it's on the list, and it's as the conditions permit. So it is on their list, and
It'll snow.
I trust Mike to get to it in a timely fashion, which will not always be as fast as everybody likes, but he does a good job.
Okay, I just wondered about that.
All right. Do you have anybody online?
I see no one online, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
Not regarding the police, but what's the status of junkie yards?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
And the reason I say that is because when my granddaughter was here during spring break, we were walking down North Hauser. There's a house there at the end of North Hauser, and we were up on the west side, and we got down there, and my 4-year-old granddaughter said, "Mommy, why is there so much garbage in the sidewalk? We can't walk. We have to go out in the street." And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said,
Blocking the sidewalk?
It's on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And like where the driveway comes out,
On North Hauser?
North House. It's the last house before, 78 and Third House.
And I have requested, and I think it did come in, I will be handing it out, so I have requested, there are 2 separate cases that we have of the hoarding houses that are in front of a judge, and I've actually requested a summary from the city attorney, and so I'll be handing that out, and it'll be in the packet next month.
Great, thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Is this house in addition to those 2 houses?
No,
Is it-
just those two.
It is
Yeah.
included in those
Yes,
two.
this is just
Okay.
getting started this person.
Oh, okay. All right.
I hope.
Thank you.
Sweet. All right. Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thanks, you guys. Thank